I want to talk a little bit about the Satanic Temple in Iowa and the display at the Iowa Capitol. So, what's the story with this? Well, in Iowa, they decided to blur the lines between church and state, and they have allowed for religious displays inside of the Capitol building. And, there used to be a fight over this kind of thing a few years back. I remember seeing stories in the news about things like the Ten Commandment displays. And I think actually it was in Iowa when these were passed, like maybe about a decade ago, stuff like that. Like there were court cases over they wanted to display the Ten Commandments and that kind of thing. And the Christians were always like fighting for it, saying, this is a Christian country and Ten Commandments are the foundation of our laws, which are not. They are not. The Ten Commandments, no, they're not. Right. We have secular law in this country. The foundation of our law in this is the fucking Constitution, not the Holy Bible. But anyway, so that's what the rule is. The rule is, well, now they allow for religious displays. Now, however, the First Amendment of the Constitution has some things to say about that. Congress is not allowed, when they say Congress, they mean any lawmaking body. Okay. So that has been held up through Supreme Court cases too. So it's not just Congress itself. It's any lawmaking body anywhere in the country. But it prevents the establishment of religion. What does that mean? That means that the state is not allowed to establish or endorse one religion over another. So the state is not allowed to say that this brand of conservative evangelical Christianity is the official state religion in any way, nor are they allowed to give any preferential treatment to that religion. Like they can't say, okay, well, this religion is tax-free, you don't have to pay taxes, but that one isn't. No, not allowed to do that. So in order to show a religious display like this in a public place, they have to allow it for every religion. So they can't just say, okay, well, Christians get to show the Ten Commandments here and nobody else gets to show anything. It's like, well, no, now they have to allow for a Hindu temple to put a display. They have to allow for a Muslim group in order to put a display of whatever they want. That kind of thing. They have to allow for these kinds of other religions in order for it to be inclusive. That's the only way in which it is legal. So, the Satanic Temple in Iowa decided to take advantage of this rule and put a statue of Baphomet in the Iowa State Capitol, as is their right. Satanism is a religion, is it not? Yes, it is. Right? The law says that they have to allow other religions besides Christians. They made their display, they waited their turn, and they put their display up. And of course that caused a lot of Christians to lose their fucking minds, because Christians don't actually care about freedom of religion. They don't actually care about the First Amendment. They don't actually care about your ability to worship as you choose. They only care about forcing their religion on everybody else. So they lost their fucking minds over it. Right? They went absolutely fucking crazy. And that is kind of the point. The point of this was to troll the Christians and to kind of show them, hey, this is what happens when you put displays of religious displays up in public places. And when I say public places, I mean public places like owned by the public, like courthouses and schools and police stations and shit like that. If you're going to do that, then you have to allow for religions that you don't believe in, and even religions and faiths that are contrary to what you believe. You have to allow that. Now, they sued and tried to stop it. I think the court basically said that, well, you're not allowed to use a real goat's head. Because I guess originally they were going to put like a taxidermy goat's head on top of Baphomet. Right? And they said, no, you're not allowed to do that. Maybe we should show a picture of what this looked like. It was very, I would say, tasteful. That's what it looked like. You see that there? This thing right here? Pretty tasteful. You know, you've got the Satanic Temple sigil in the background here with the head of Baphomet. Here's Baphomet, the statue. It's a goat's head. Looks like it's made out of some kind of metal. And an altar and all of that stuff. Kind of seems like a pretty tasteful thing. It's not like there's, you know, the blood of virgins there or anything like that. It's not like they're sacrificing goats or any of that kind of shit. Looks okay to me. I don't give a shit about this kind of thing because I don't think Satan exists. I don't actually believe in Satan or demons or ghosts or spirits or any of that stuff. So I don't give a fuck what they put there. They could put a giant burning statue of Ronald McDonald in a tutu. I wouldn't give a fuck. Right? Like, why do you care? It's like if somebody put a statue of Gandalf. Why would that would just be awesome? But why would I give a shit? I don't believe Gandalf is real, so who cares? Well, apparently the Christians cared. Because somebody, very shortly after this happened, and it became this big controversy, and there were Twitter people losing their minds over it and all this shit, somebody went and vandalized the statue. Here we go. Who is this man? Satanic display at Iowa Capitol vandalized by ex-military officer. Michael Cassidy beheaded the idol in protest of the controversial exhibit. State officials say the display met all legal requirements. Cassidy faces criminal charges. Some conservative Christian, some loving conservative Christian who is in support of the First Amendment and freedom of religion and all that, took it upon himself to persecute members of an opposing religion that he didn't like because they took advantage of the legal rule that he and his kind sued to enforce. Once again, showing and displaying, you know, just to kind of knock it all home there, folks. They don't actually care about your freedom. They care about imposing their will upon you. So let's read a little bit about who this guy is. I got another window here. Turns out that he is an ex-candidate for the Mississippi House. Former Mississippi House candidate charged after Satanic Temple displays destroyed at Iowa Capitol. There it is once again. Looks like he went in and decapitated the Baphomet there. Those of you who don't know what Baphomet is, Baphomet actually is a creation in the Middle Ages. And it essentially comes from the word Muhammad. It's essentially Christians during the Crusades characterizing their Muslim enemies as Satan worshippers. It's meaningless. It doesn't exist. I mean, of course, that's not what the Satanic Temple uses Baphomet for, but that's the origins of Baphomet. That's where that word comes from. Anyway, so nope. Fuck off, AP News. Let's read a little bit about this. A Satanic Temple display inside of the Iowa Capitol in Des Moines was destroyed, and a former U.S. Navy fighter pilot who was recently defeated in a state house election in Mississippi is accused of causing the damage. Does this guy live in Iowa? I mean, did he fly up there from Mississippi in order to just straight up destroy this thing? I mean, I don't know. Maybe God told him to do it, huh? The display is permitted by rules that govern religious installations inside the Capitol, but has drawn criticism from many conservatives, including presidential candidate Ron DeSantis. A Facebook posting by the Satanic Temple on Thursday said the display, known as a Baphomet statue, was destroyed beyond repair, though part of it remains. I don't know, it kind of looked like they could repair it to me. I mean, it looks like just its head was, like, chopped off here, right? Like, going back to, like the head fell off and the thing was falling over. I think they could screw that back on. Michael Cassidy, 35, of Lauderdale, Mississippi, was charged with fourth-degree criminal mischief. The Iowa Department of Public Safety said Friday he was released after his arrest. Cassidy is a Republican who was defeated by Democrat Keith Jackson in Mississippi State House District 45 in November. Fourth-degree criminal mischief, huh? You know, wonder what the punishment for that is. Let me see here. Iowa, fourth-degree criminal mischief. Punishable by up to 1 year in prison and a $2,560 fine plus 15% surcharge and $100 court costs. It is defined as causing damage of more than $300 but less than $750. Is this guy going to get a year in prison? I would be surprised. I would be very surprised if he got punished at all. If anything, he's probably going to end up having to pay a fine. So he's going to get away with it. All right, paying a fine, number one, to some rich asshole is not a punishment. And yes, the guy's rich, okay? He's running for fucking office in Mississippi. He's rich. Normal, ordinary people don't run for office that don't have fucking... At least, if they're not at least super well off. Maybe not rich. But I would be very surprised if the guy was a 9-to-5er, put it that way. So, yeah. That's kind of fucked up. He's basically just going to get away with it. And the Satanic Temple people are screwed. Their display is fucked up. I hope that the state capitol allows them to put it back up once they get it fixed there. Something else I read is that this guy Cassidy has put up a legal defense fund and got something like $20,000 within the first hour. And that's another thing you see when it comes to right-wing conservative activists, is that they're all too happy to give each other money. You know, it kind of reminds me of when fucking Kyle Rittenhouse killed 2 people and then got like $250,000 in fucking donations from happy Christians and happy conservatives who were just very, very happy that he murdered people. Kind of looks like the same way here. Law-abiding Christians who are just all too quick to enforce the law when it benefits them, are also all too happy to defy the law when it benefits somebody else. Completely fucking ridiculous. Ron DeSantis, second in line for the Republican primary, next to Donald Trump, has, of course, pledged to help this guy. Here's a tweet from Ron DeSantis. Satan has no place in our society and should not be recognized as a religion, quote-unquote, by the federal government. I'll chip in to contribute to his Veterans Legal Defense Fund. Good prevails over evil. That's the American spirit. Here is another Twitter guy I found calling this dude a hero. This is from somebody named Sachin Jose. This is the hero, Michael Cassidy, who tore down the satanic display at the Iowa State Capitol, put there by the Satanic Temple. He is a Christian veteran. He's a hero. Absolute fucking hero, see? This man broke the law. He defiled somebody else's religious display. And they're calling him a hero. And here's the thing. Here's the irony that is just completely goes over this guy and every other Christian who's pissed off at this. It goes completely over their heads. The whole point of this Baphomet statue in the first place was to make you people angry. It was to basically shove it in their faces, saying that, hey, this is what happens when the government endorses a religion. This is why the government should not endorse a religion. Because then it endorses things that you don't want to be associated with. And, you know, here's the thing. If I was a Christian, I completely understand why Christians would be pissed at this. Because if you actually are a Christian person, and you actually do believe that Satan is real, because you have to believe Satan is real. If you think God is real, you have to believe Satan is real. Because it's in the goddamn book. So you have to do it. So I would completely understand why they would be upset by that. That's the entire point. The entire point is to try to make them think, how do other people feel? How do the Muslims and Jewish people and Hindus and atheists and Buddhists and sun worshippers and whoever the fuck else there is, Scientologists, everybody, how do they feel when they go into their state capital, which their tax dollars pay for, and see the 10 Commandments? Why are those things there? What if you don't believe in the 10 Commandments? What does that say? What does it say, right? What does it say to have the 10 Commandments in your courtroom? It's basically saying that we endorse these religious principles. Well, the state, according to the Constitution, according to the very first law, the very, very first law outlined in the Constitution there, says the state is not supposed to fucking do that. That's what it says. It says Congress shall not endorse, the establishment of any religion. Kind of looks like when you got the Ten Commandments, it looks like you're establishing a religion. You're saying to the people, these are the principles by which we judge people, which our laws are made on and founded on and all that shit. And it's not. That is not what... No, that's bullshit. Bullshit fucking revisionist history. The United States is not founded on religious principles. It's founded on secular principles. And it specifically says in the Constitution, the highest law in this land specifically says that's how it is. Specifically says that there will be no endorsement of one religion over another. The early founding fathers, their writings all attest to this fact. That we are a secular nation. When the Christians tell you, this is a Christian, that's bullshit. That's not right. That's wrong. They're completely full of shit. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And it's just one of those things that they repeat over and over and over again until people believe it. Because most people in this country don't know a goddamn thing about the history of this country, let alone the actual history of, like, the founding fathers and who they were and what they stood for. Nobody in this country knows that shit because they don't teach you it in schools here. You don't learn about that. I don't know. Other countries on this earth, I'm assuming that they teach their kids about their history. We don't learn any of that in the United States. We learn a sanitized, romanticized version of American history. The Pilgrims came here to be free. The fucking George Washington chopped down a cherry tree. Shit like that. Like, that's what we learn. That's what we learn. We don't actually learn that, Thomas Jefferson was like, essentially what would be called an atheist today. We don't learn anything about that. We don't learn about all the squabbles that they fought over getting the Constitution together, or about how the country almost didn't fucking happen because they couldn't get all 13 colonies to agree. So that's the whole fucking point. And that's the thing that flies over all their heads, is that they don't get it. Conservative Christian evangelicals do not get it. They don't get it because they have a worldview that says that they're superior and that they're supposed to own the country and they're supposed to run everything and that everybody else is supposed to be subjugated by them. That's what their worldview that says. That's what Christian dominionism, right? Christian nationalism. That's what that actually is. And this is why they'll never understand it. And this is why this kind of shit needs to be fought against, right?
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.